Hi, this is episode 52 of Mini-Pod. No fluff, just good stuff in under 5 minutes. This is Dave Jacobs of Small Church Pastor. Have you been over to my website, smallchurchpastor.com? There's a bunch of other good stuff over there. I think you'll like it. Give it a visit sometime soon. One observation I've made is that many pastors don't have a plan to recruit leaders. Now, you just can't pull them out of the hat like a magician would a rabbit. But in order for your church to be healthy and move forward, you're going to need leaders who will partner with you in leading the church. Paul put it this way, you're familiar with this passage, Ephesians 4:12. The job of the pastor is to train and equip the people in their church to do the work of the ministry. Now here are some time-tested ways to help you do just that. Number one, if you want to get good at recruiting leaders, think. What exactly do you need help with? What exactly is it that needs oversight? And who are the most potential in your church to take this on? Notice I said have the most potential. Nobody can do it as well as you do. Probably, at least not at first. One pastor I spoke to recently said, I don't have anyone qualified to be a leader. And I said that, I understand that, but who do you have that is the closest to qualified? Start where you can. Work with who you have, not with who you don't have. Number two, in how to have an effective process of recruiting leaders. Number two, recruit. Now nobody, and this is especially true in a smaller church, will be better at recruiting than you. And face-to-face is always best. Don't be afraid to make the big ask. Remember, the answer is always no if you don't ask. But before you ask, make sure you're ready to describe exactly what you're asking them to do. Now, be flexible. By this I mean if you need them to commit to too many things, there's a chance that they're going to say yes to some, but not to all those things. And don't ask them to commit until the return of Christ. By that I mean, make it temporary, make it an experiment. Ask them, for a few months to commit to, and then tell them after that time, the two of us will get together and we'll evaluate. If they don't like it, promise them that you'll move them on to something else. Number three, train. Now, some responsibilities require more training than others. For example, handing out bulletins or being a greeter requires less training than leading a small group. Next, deploy. Turn them loose to do it. Pray for them, encourage them, and then release them to do their job. Keep in mind that most things have a learning curve. They might make mistakes at first, but then so did you, so did I. Next, monitor. Keep checking in with them to see how things are going. The better they get at their ministry, the less monitoring you're going to need. But you're always going to need to monitor. You ask them questions such as, how's it going? Is there any way in which I can help you? What's working well? 3 more. Next, maintain. The leadership rule is if you don't maintain your leaders, they will not remain your leaders. This is closely related to training and monitoring. What ongoing training and encouragement can you give them? There's a lot of good free resources out there that you could give them or point them to. Next, reward them. Now, of course, you don't pay your volunteers or they wouldn't be volunteers. There are other ways to pay them. Pay them with your time, such as occasionally taking them out to lunch or for coffee. Pay them by telling them how much you appreciate their contribution or how good of a job they're doing. Brag on them from the pulpit on Sundays. And sometimes an occasional gift is nice. And then finally, repeat. I remember once training some leaders from another church, and at one point I asked each department head to tell me how they were doing with recruiting volunteers. One leader of the youth group said that they're doing fine. They have all the leaders they needed. And it was true at that moment, but things can change quickly. One day you can have a leader and the next they resign, or they take a break, or they get mad and leave the church. You can never, never, never stop deploying leaders and volunteers. Let me just ask you this question. What plan do you have to increase your volunteers and your leaders? This is Dave Jacobs of Small Church Pastor. Thanks for checking in. And once again, visit my website, subscribe to this video, hit that like button, and I'll talk to you next week.